NATO's collective defence policy means an attack against one member is an attack against all its members. This is bad news for Putin, as new members on his border create massive threats to peace. In the ongoing geopolitical chess game between Russia and NATO, we have just witnessed a major move that might turn out to be a checkmate. Finland, which shares an 830-mile border with Russia, just joined the military alliance. What does this mean for Russian President Vladimir Putin and the long-standing relationship between Finland and Russia? Finland formally became the 31st member of NATO on April 4, 2023, in a ceremony held at NATO's headquarters in Brussels. The move has been seen as a historic policy shift for Finland and a major blow to Russian President Vladimir Putin. Finland has traditionally maintained a neutral stance, even during the Cold War. It has a long-standing relationship with Russia, including trade and cultural ties. However, Finland has also been cautious of its powerful neighbour to the east. It has sought to balance its relationship with the West and Russia. With Finland joining NATO, the balance has shifted, and this move is expected to have far-reaching consequences for Finland and Russia. In this video, we will discuss the implications of Finland's NATO membership for Russia, examine the historical relationship between Finland and Russia, and analyse how this decision will affect the future of Finnish foreign policy. But before we get into it, please remember to hit that like button and subscribe. We will cover some important and controversial topics on this channel, and your support will really help us with the algorithm. The decision to join NATO was not taken lightly by the Finnish government. Finland has been a partner of NATO for over 25 years, participating in various NATO-led missions and operations, but has not been a full member. The Finnish government has cited several reasons for joining NATO, including increased security and the desire to enhance its military capabilities. Finland sees NATO as a way to strengthen its relationships with other Western nations and to gain access to advanced military technology. Finland sees NATO as a way to strengthen its relationships with other Western nations and to gain access to advanced military technology. Finland joining NATO has intense geopolitical implications. The move increases NATO's border with Russia by 830 miles, which is likely to be viewed as a provocative move by the Russian government. This could further deteriorate the strained relationship between Russia and the West, potentially increasing the risk of military conflict in the region. Finland's membership in NATO could shift the balance of power in the Baltic region, where Russia has historically held significant influence, as it allows for increased Western influence. The Baltic region has long been a source of tension between Russia and the West. However, some experts argue that Finland's membership in NATO could increase regional stability by providing a greater deterrent against Russian aggression. Clearly, there's one man who will not be happy about this. Russian President Vladimir Putin disapproves of Finland joining NATO, stating that it threatens Russia's national security. In recent years, Putin has criticized NATO's expansion, accusing the alliance of encroaching on Russian territory and undermining regional stability. Russia has been increasingly assertive in its foreign policy in recent years, particularly with its neighbours. Russia's annexation of Crimea in 2014 and its ongoing conflict with Ukraine have heightened tensions in the region and contributed to a deteriorating relationship between Russia and the West. Putin's response is not surprising, but may also be motivated by domestic politics. Putin has been facing increasing opposition at home, including protests against his government's handling of the COVID-19 pandemic and a crackdown on dissent. Putin may be using Finland's NATO membership to rally support at home and project strength on the global stage. Russian aggression towards Finland will begin with cyber attacks and disinformation campaigns, but will likely escalate. We do not yet know how Finland and NATO will respond to Russian aggression, but to fully understand the length and breadth of the relationship between the countries, perhaps it's worth taking a step back. As with many neighbouring countries, the two countries have had a long and complex history dating back centuries, with a series of events bringing them both closer and further apart in varying degrees. One of the most significant effects in the two countries' history was the Winter War of 1939 to 1940. At the time, Finland was a small and vulnerable country that declared independence from Russia in 1917. In 1939, the Soviet Union under Stalin demanded that Finland cede some of its territory to Russia, including the city of Vyborg. When Finland refused, the Soviet Union launched a surprise attack on Finland, leading to a brutal winter war lasting over 100 days. Despite being heavily outnumbered and outgunned, the Finnish army put up a valiant defence. Eventually, it secured a peace treaty that allowed them to retain their independence. The post-war Friendship Treaty provided the Soviet Union with influence in Finnish affairs. However, Finland maintained a degree of independence and neutrality, becoming a non-aligned country during the Cold War. This policy of neutrality was supported by its Finlandization policy, which involved maintaining friendly relations with the Soviet Union while cooperating with the West. Finland could trade with the East and the West, but was not a member of either NATO or a signatory of the Warsaw Pact. This policy allowed Finland to maintain its independence and avoid being drawn into the superpower rivalry of the Cold War. In the post-Cold War era, Finland has continued in a similar vein, but sought to deepen its ties with the West while maintaining a constructive relationship with Russia. The two countries continue to engage in trade and cultural exchanges, with Russian tourists and investors being an essential source of revenue for Finland. However, tensions have flared up occasionally, such as in 2014 when Russia annexed Crimea and the situation in Ukraine escalated. So, are NATO happy to have a new member in Finland? The United States and NATO have been largely supportive of Finland's accession to the alliance, seeing it as a positive step for regional security and a way to strengthen NATO's eastern flank. The move has been hailed as a victory for NATO and a clear signal of its continued relevance in the face of rising global challenges. One of the critical reasons for the US and NATO support of Finland joining NATO is to deter Russian aggression in the region. Since Russia annexed Crimea in 2014, NATO has been stepping up its efforts to bolster its eastern flank, increasing its presence in the Baltic states and Poland. Finland's accession to NATO is seen as a natural extension of this policy and a way to further strengthen NATO's deterrence posture against Russian aggression. However, not all NATO member states have supported Finland joining the alliance. Some have raised concerns about the potential implications for NATO's relationship with Russia and the possibility of further inflaming tensions between the two countries. Others have criticised Finland's decision to join NATO as a betrayal of its long-standing policy of neutrality. Despite these concerns, US and NATO support for Finland's NATO membership remains strong, with the alliance seeing it as a way to enhance regional stability and further solidify its position as a key player in the global security landscape. It remains to be seen how this decision will impact the relationship between NATO and Russia, and whether it will lead to further escalations. Since the end of the Cold War, NATO has played a critical role in promoting stability and deterrence in the region. The alliance has expanded eastward to include former Soviet satellite states. It has conducted military exercises and operations to demonstrate its commitment to collective defense. Finland's accession to NATO further strengthens the alliance's position in the region and enhances its ability to deter potential adversaries. NATO has also emphasized the importance of dialogue with Russia and has sought to avoid any actions that could be seen as provocative. Finland's accession to NATO has significant implications for regional security and the relationship between Russia and the West. The decision reflects Finland's desire to strengthen its defense capabilities and enhance its security against potential threats. While NATO and the US have welcomed Finland's move as a valuable addition to the alliance, Russia has expressed concern about the expansion of NATO's border and the potential threat to its security. The historical relationship between Finland and Russia has been marked by periods of cooperation and conflict, with the Winter War and the Cold War playing critical roles in shaping their current relationship. The decision by Finland to join NATO may further complicate this relationship. However, it is important to remember that cooperation between these two countries is still possible. Finland's NATO membership serves as a reminder of the alliance's role in promoting international stability. By cooperating and sharing resources, NATO member states can enhance their collective defense capabilities and deter potential threats. In light of the complex and evolving nature of international relations, nations must remain open to dialogue and cooperation. As we move forward, we must continue to promote peace and stability, recognizing that the interests and security of all nations are interconnected.